He slit off my clothes from the trousers all the way to the back, up until to the top. And I could feel that cold steel against my skin. They shaved my hair off, shaved my beard off, laughed at it. They paraded me naked after they shackled me in front of soldiers taking photographs. And then after that, they put on the infamous orange jumpsuit.
Where were you detained?
I was with my wife and children.
Yeah.
We'd been working on a project to build a school in Afghanistan when the US-led invasion began in 2001. So we evacuated under American bombs and made it to Pakistan, which is where my family originate from anyway, and we took up residence there.
Yeah.
I was there for a couple of months. There's a knock on the door. I opened the door, and there's a bunch of people standing there, none of them in uniform. One of them pulls out a gun, pushes it to my head. I know my family, my wife and kids are in the other rooms, and I tell them, please leave them alone. The group of people then surround me. They push me onto my knees, and then tie my hands behind my back, push me into the prone position, shackle my legs, put a hood over my head. At this point, I don't know who these people are. I don't know whether they're bandits or armed robbers. Somebody lifts my hood. It's two guys dressed as Pakistanis, but they're not Pakistanis, they're white Americans. And they say, you can either answer our questions here, or you can answer them in Guantanamo Bay. So I was detained because this was the war on terror, and they could detain anybody they wanted to. Okay. Tell us about the day you were detained.
Yes, it was actually quite an interesting day. If you don't have the right status to live in the UK, you have to go and sign in with the Home Office to tell them that, oh, I'm still in the country. But on this fateful day, I thought, I'm just going to go in and come out as usual. And I went in and I never came back out until about 3 months later.
And you were detained?
And I was detained straight away. And
police station and prison?
Detention centre.
Okay.
Then that's where they take people whilst they process their deportation. I myself didn't know where I was. I didn't know if I was safe. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know when I was going to get released. I was left in the dark.
And did you know where they wanted to deport you to? Did you have an idea of which country they wanted to
Yes,
deport?
Nigeria, where I originally came from when I was 13.
What were the conditions like where you were detained?
The conditions were terrible. It's filled with rats, rodents, absolutely.
You see them running around?
Oh, absolutely. They come through under the door, come into your room. You're in this detention center with a lot of other people. You know, there are people who have serious mental challenges, and they get violent. Once they lock that cell, they don't open it until the morning. So anything can happen. So every day you live life on the edge with fear, anxiety, depression. Sometimes you just wake up and I just want to end it all because I don't know what to do.
That's how bad it was?
That's how bad it was, yes.
Wow. Did you have in your mind, like, if the day may come where they're going to literally grab you and stick you onto a plane?
Absolutely. It's always it's a mental torture because you don't know when that day will come. Before the end of that day, you're back to where you came from.
A place you haven't seen since you were a child.
Yes, absolutely. What were your conditions like?
Probably the worst conditions I came across was when I was held in a place called Kandahar, and we were in communal cells that had been makeshift, built by the military. They gave us a bucket, literally a metal bucket to use as a toilet between 12 of us. Probably the worst abuse I've encountered of other prisoners. It was in Bagram in around February 2002.
Yeah.
They brought a prisoner to the front of the cell, and this was like a communal cell, as I said, about 12 of us. But this prisoner started shouting in Pashto, which is a language I don't speak, it's spoken in Afghanistan. But he was clearly complaining.
Yeah.
They put this particular individual at the front and they tied his hands to the top of the door
Yeah.
and left him like this, kind of suspended with a hood over his head. And they left him like this for hours and then days. They would unshackle him just to let him go to the toilet or to eat. Otherwise, he's always shackled up. Then one day, his head just dropped and they opened the door, and the first thing they did, the soldiers, is to start punching him, like in the ribs, to see if he's pretending.
Yeah.
And then they unshackled him and then carried him off upstairs. I didn't know what happened at the time, but there was a rumor that he's dead. You know, later they did a film, I think, called A Taxi to the Dark Side. It got the Oscar for Best Documentary. It was about the death of this taxi driver. He was a taxi driver, and he was innocent.
Wow, that's crazy. How did it feel to go from free to detained so quickly?
You start asking questions about who you are. You start to doubt everything that you know to be true. It's like a nightmare. My first interrogation was in this tent in the middle of the Kandahar desert. They threw me onto the floor. He slit off my clothes from the trousers all the way to the back, up until to the top. And I could feel that cold steel against my skin. They shaved my hair off, shaved my beard off, laughed at it, bringing dogs to bark, salivate. And then they paraded me naked after they shackled me in front of soldiers taking photographs, being asked ridiculous questions. And then after that, they put on the infamous orange jumpsuit. But yeah, all of that's designed to terrify you. It's not natural for somebody to be detained and imprisoned. It's not a natural state of any human being. We are social animals. We don't naturally thrive in solitary confinement.
Absolutely, yes.
We interact with people, we talk, we walk, we love, we hate, we do all of those things as normal people in a free society. Literally in the click of a finger, all of that can be taken.
What was the hardest thing about your detainment?
I think the hardest thing has to be being away from my family.
Yeah.
I had 3 children, the eldest who at the time was 6, and then they went down into, there was a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And then after I was taken into custody, I had my youngest child born. So I never saw him until he was 3 years old. First time I ever saw him in his life was when he was 3 years old. The knowledge that your children are growing up without you, it was probably more than I could handle. So the only way I could deal with that was cut myself off. Just don't tell yourself you're a father. Letters would come every now and then from my kids, and they would redact, black out most of what she's written, except for at the end, I love you, Dad. That broke the dam, because that reminded me that I have children. I was pacing up in my cell, 3 steps forward, 3 steps back, and I just lost it. I had a panic attack. I started punching, kicking, screaming, swearing at the soldiers, just going mad, doing things that I normally would never do. And the worst psychological torture, I think both of us could understand this, is that you don't know when this is going to end.
There are times when if somebody's got a hearing date for a court, a bail, for example, we tell them, listen, you're going to the school, we don't want you back here. You're going, don't come back. And it's a practice that we do. We kind of just give out some of the things we have, maybe the tops, the shirts, the socks, just give them to other people in the hopes that we're not going to come back.
You're not going to need that stuff.
We're not going to need that stuff. It happened to me, so I had a bail hearing. I'm not going to come back here. I was happy giving out stuff to people, went to court. And my family were there, my relatives were there. So everyone was hoping that, it's coming home with us. And my bail got refused. Just picked me up straight back into the van. And that was it. They didn't give me a chance to say bye. They didn't give me a chance to, not even a hug. Nothing. It was the worst moment of my life, actually. Being refused that bail when I know that I have every right to be free because I haven't committed anything. They make you feel like insignificant, just coming to terms that I'm actually powerless.
How were you released?
So randomly, an unknown number called and said, "Oh, if we were to release you today, where are you going to go?" And literally at that moment, my head went blank, my brain went blank. I was like, wait, what's my address? I couldn't remember my address.
Wow.
So I told him to give me a minute to just calm down and just recollect. And so I gave him my release address, and before that evening, I was out of there. It was a surreal moment when those gates opened and I walked out. I looked back, I was like, wow. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, I'm actually out. Yeah, how about yours?
I remember the day it was a US military officer came to my cell, solitary confinement. I've been there now for 3 years. And she says, 558, we have decided to release you to the custody of the British government and you'll be going home. I thought, you lying cow. I didn't want to believe her, but sure enough, they sent a detail of soldiers. They shackled me up, and the Americans, in their haste to hand us over or whatever, they forgot the keys to the padlocks. They came over with a massive pair of wire cutters and they had to snap off the chains. They sat us down, and then offered me chocolates, crisps, and importantly the newspapers. And on the front of the newspapers, including, I have to say, the Sun, you had my picture and a bunch of other people. I thought, wow, this is bad.
Yeah.
I'm on the front page of the Sun.
Wow.
Well, I said, you can never understand or appreciate freedom unless it's been taken away from you.
Yeah.
I didn't know that indefinite detention happens in Britain. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And Britain is the land of, and America is the land of laws, justice, habeas corpus, Magna Carta, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
No man shall be detained without being judged by a jury of their peers. All of that is a load of nonsense when it comes to these places. The lawyers who represented me on that also dealt with cases like yours, and I came across more than I can recount, and started to realize that detention without trial in Britain is a massive thing, has a long history.
I didn't come out broken, I came out stronger. I came out with the will and the zeal that I'm going to do something about this. I want to do something about this. For the people that are still in there right now, I feel a sense of fight. Like, I need to fight for them.
I can forgive for what was done to me. I can't forgive for what's being done to people right now.
Yes.
I don't have the right to do that. I think the day after I came back, I asked my wife for the keys to a car. I jumped into the car, and I'm gonna experience the ultimate freedom, which is driving down the motorway with the windows down, feeling the wind in my hair. And when I did that, that was just like the ultimate sense of I'm free. I could never have done this in Guantanamo. So it's been amazing talking to you.
Absolutely, and you too.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Someone catches wind of it, Jesus Christ, like they'll be like, hey, fish on a rice cake, fish boy, talking to a girl online, and then them finding out that I'm fishing a rice cake and them just never speaking to me again. So
what did you find out? Did you own Plenty of Fish?
I'm not on Plenty of Fish, no, I've not tried that one.
Plenty of Fish and rice cakes.
Oh, no, he's shredding me.